Okay. All right. Yay! You're awake. We're doing this. It's amazing. We're doing it. This is great. You're actually awake. Oh. And it looks like we caught you at just the right time because I finished feeding the dogs and I let them out and I told him, okay, we're going to read. And next thing I know, he's curling up in bed. So I think we caught him right before. So I would assume a lot of people know about Christmas in July. I'm not going to say everybody, because not everyone is Christmas crazy. But I'm sure you've heard the term at some point. We are Christmas crazy in this house. It's one of our favorite holidays. And this upcoming weekend is the ornament debut for most of Hallmark's ornaments. And there will be a large haul coming from that. And I'm very excited about it. So, to celebrate Christmas in July, we've been watching Hallmark Christmas movies and, listening to Christmas music. And what I want to do on this channel, I have other channels. This is my only channel. On here is read Christmas stories. And so we've got this large book that we got from Cracker Barrel a couple years ago, I'd say. And it's just a bunch of excerpts from various stories involving Christmas. So the story itself may not be a Christmas story, but this part of it is based in Christmas, and so it's in this book. And so I'm going to read 2 of those each night, and then we've got tons of these small cardboard books, and I'll read one of those. And so we're going to read the first 2 stories in our Christmas stories book, and then we're going to read the story of America's birthday for tonight for our. I know you've got little nipples. I know. You're weird. You like your nipples grabbed. That's very bizarre to me. So we're going to read the story of America's birthday. Yeah? Are you ready? Yeah? And for those of you that watched the hair cutting video, I haven't finished his hair by any means. I did, however, manage to trim the little bits that were really sticking out on the sides here. So it's not quite the hot mess that it was before, but it still needs work. So, okay, the story of America's birthday. Since you were doing your wonky sleep thing, we didn't get to read this on 4th of July. Do you know why we celebrate July 4th? Because July 4th is America's birthday. This is the day America became free. Today, America has 50 states, but many years ago, there were only 13 states called colonies. People who lived in the colonies were called colonists. The colonists were not free. The country across the ocean called England owned the colonies. The colonies flew the English flag. Their leader was the English king. The King of England wanted the colonists to pay him money called taxes. Everything was taxed, even the tea the colonists drank. The colonists did not like to pay taxes to the king. On July 4th, 1776, the leaders from the colonies met. One of the leaders, Thomas Jefferson, wrote the Declaration of Independence. It said all men are created equal. It declared America free. The Declaration of Independence made the King of England angry. The king sent his army to fight the colonists. One day, at Yorktown, Virginia, the king gave up and called his army home. Never again would a king tell Americans what to do. Each year, on July 4th, we celebrate America's birthday. We have picnics, we watch fireworks. It's hard to do this with my hand. We are thankful that America is free. Oh, look, even the doggy has a flag. Happy birthday, America. Right? It's good to know. That's why I made you watch the Schoolhouse Rock videos about America. All right, so let's start our Christmas in July, right? Well, yeah. Okay. So this book is broken up into 5 different sections. 5? Yeah. And each section has a theme. So first one's called Christmas is Coming. The second one, Magical Moments, Winter Wonderland, Presents and Parties, and Goodwill and Giving. And we'll go through each of those as we progress through the book. And they've each got, several stories in there. So, well, because you play with it all day. So can we plug it in to charge it? She wouldn't pull your plugs out of the wall. To help anybody. Boy. First world problems. One tablet is dead. What about this one? Oh, this one has lots of battery. That was at 96%. Use that. Okay. I know. Well, the battery's dead. It's got to charge, sweetheart. You have to let it be. Okay. So, the first story. And if the author is known of the story, it'll say it, and sometimes it won't. And it gives a little excerpt about the story as well. So, this one is Jesus is born in Bethlehem. And the author is Anon, because as we read in our Bible read through, there's 3 different authors, although it's in Matthew, right, where they mostly focus on his birth? Yeah, in Matthew. So I guess you could say it's Matthew that wrote this story. So Christmas is traditionally the time when Christians celebrate the birth of Jesus, who they believe is the Son of God. This is the story of what happened when Jesus was born. A young woman called Mary lived in the town of Nazareth among the hills of Galilee. Well, I guess this story in particular is written based off of that. So, in the hills of Galilee, she was going to be married to a carpenter called Joseph, who, like herself, lived in Nazareth. One day, God sent the angel Gabriel to Mary with a message. Mary, when she saw and heard the angel, was a little frightened. The angel told her he had some good news for her. The Son of God was coming into the world very soon, and he would be born as Mary's little child. Oh, I didn't bring the water with me. Oh, well. Mary, when she saw and heard the angel, was a little frightened. The angel told her he had some good news for her. The Son of God was coming into the world very soon, and he would be born as Mary's little child. Okay, I read that for her. And Gabriel said that when he was born, Mary should call him Jesus. About this time, Caesar Augustus, the great emperor of Rome, sent word to Herod, his ruler in Palestine, that he was to take a census of the Jews. Everybody's name had to be written down, as well as their age and many other things about them. Every 20 years, Augustus had a census taken, so that he might know how much money the Jews ought to pay him in taxes, and how many soldiers he could demand they send him. At census time, people had to go to their hometowns where their fathers' fathers lived a long time ago, and had to register there instead of the homes where they live now. Now both Joseph and Mary belonged to the family of the great King David, who was born in Bethlehem. So Mary had to prepare for a long journey and go with her husband to Bethlehem. She rode on a donkey, and Joseph led it carefully over the rough rocks. Bethlehem is on top of a hill, and people have to climb up a steep road to get into the town. When Joseph and Mary reached Bethlehem, Mary was very tired, And so Joseph went to look for an inn in which they could stay the night. An inn is a large house that people stay at when they are on a journey. There were many inns in Bethlehem, but Mary and Joseph, after their long journey from Nazareth, could not find one that had room. In the end, one innkeeper said he had no rooms for them, but if they wanted, they could sleep in the stable with the animals. And because there was no room for them in the inn, Mary and Joseph had to go into the stable to sleep. And in that stable, Jesus was born. Mary wrapped him in swaddling cloths, which were strips of cloth wound snugly around him to help him feel warm and safe. And she laid him in a manger, the place where the animals' food is put. On the hill where Bethlehem stood, shepherds took their flocks to feed. There were wild animals in Palestine, and all night long the shepherds of Bethlehem watched to see that no harm came to their sheep. That night an angel of the Lord appeared to them, and a bright light shone round about them. The shepherds were terrified, but the angel said, "Don't be afraid. I've come to tell you wonderful news. A king has been born this night in the city of David. You will find the baby wrapped in swaddling cloths and lying in a manger." And then the sky was filled with a wonderful light, and angels singing glory to God in the heights, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. When the light faded, the song ended, and the angels returned to heaven. The shepherds climbed quickly over the hillside to Bethlehem, and there in the stable near the inn they found Mary and Joseph, and the baby lying in the manger, as the angels had said. Jesus had some other visitors too. A long way on the eastern side of the river Jordan, there were countries where people used to watch the sun and the moon and the stars very carefully. If they saw anything new and strange in the heavens, they thought it meant that something wonderful was going to happen on earth. One day, these wise men saw a bright star that they had never seen before. And as they looked at it, they felt sure that its message was that the great King of the Jews had been born in Judea, a person they called the Christ. So they took expensive gifts of gold and sweet-smelling stuff, such as people gave to kings in those days. And they loaded their camels and left their homes and rode for many weeks till they came to Jerusalem. Oh, they hear something out there. When they got there, they said, "Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and have come to worship him." When Herod the ruler heard about these wise men, he was troubled. He didn't want any kings coming along who might challenge him. Come here. Come here. Come on. Come on. I know. Come on. Come on. Come here. Come on. I know, good boy. Good girl, yeah. Hi, babies. Hi. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Hi. Oh. There's something out there. I know you keep hearing stuff out there, huh? When Herod the ruler heard about these wise men, he was troubled. He didn't want any kings coming along who might challenge him. He sent for the best priests and other clever men and asked them where Christ would be born. They said to him, "In Bethlehem of Judea." They had read this in the Bible. Then Herod said to the wise men, "Go and search out the young child, and when you have found him, come back and tell me where he is, so that I may come and see him also." But really, he planned to kill Jesus. The wise men agreed, and then they went away to Bethlehem. The bright star led them on till it stopped above the place where the baby Jesus was. When they came into the house, there was room in the inn now. They saw the baby with Mary, his mother. They knelt down before him, as if to a great king, and they gave him their gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But the wise men did not go back to Herod. God told them in a dream not to go. So they went home another way instead. But the danger of Herod finding out about Jesus was still there. So after the wise men were gone, God's angel came to Joseph in his sleep and said to him, "Take the baby and his mother and escape into Egypt, for Herod will seek the child to kill him." So Joseph at once got up and took Jesus and Mary and put them on his donkey. He led them quietly out of Bethlehem and away to Egypt, where they would be safe. The First Christmas Tree, an extract from The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus by L. Frank Baum. This is part of the story telling how Santa Claus lives in a place called Laughing Valley, who goes out into the world to bring joy to children. Claus had always kept his promise, returning to the Laughing Valley by daybreak, but only the swiftness of his reindeer has enabled him to do this, for he travels all over the world. He loved his work, and he loved the brisk night ride on his sleigh and the merry tinkle of the sleigh bells. On that first trip with the 10 reindeer, only Glossie and Flossie wore bells. But each year, for 8 years, Claus carried presents to the children of the Gnome King, and that good-natured monarch gave him in return a string of bells at each visit, so that finally every one of the 10 deer was supplied. You may imagine what a merry tune the bells played as the sleigh sped over the snow. The children's stockings were so long that it required a great many toys to fill them. And soon Claus found there were other things besides toys the children loved. So he sent some of the fairies, who were always his good friends, into the tropics. Darling, calm down with the clapping, please. Okay? Shh. In the tropics. They returned with great bags full of oranges and bananas that they had plucked from the trees, and other fairies flew to the wonderful valley of Funnyland, where delicious candies and bonbons grew thickly on the bushes, and returned laden with many boxes of sweetmeats for the little ones. On each Christmas Eve, Santa Claus placed these things in the long stockings together with his toys, and the children were glad to get them. You may be sure. Glad to get them, you may be sure. There are also warm countries where there is no snow in winter, but Claus visited them as well as the colder countries, for there were little wheels inside the runners of his sleigh that permitted it to run as smoothly over bare ground as on the snow. And the children who lived in the warm countries learned to know the name of Santa Claus, as well as those who lived nearer to Laughing Valley. Once, just as the reindeer were ready to start on their yearly trip, a fairy came to Claus and told him of 3 little children who lived beneath a rough tent of skins on a broad plain where there were no trees. These poor children were miserable and unhappy, for their parents neglected them. Claus decided to visit these children before he returned home, and during his ride he picked up the bushy top of a pine tree, which the wind had broken off, and placed it in his sleigh. It was nearly morning when the reindeer stopped before the lonely tent of skins where the poor children lay asleep. Claus planted the bit of pine tree in the sand and stuck many candles on the branches. Then he hung some of his prettiest toys on the tree, as well as several bags of candies. It did not take long to do all this, for Santa Claus works quickly. And when all was ready, he lit the candles, and thrusting his head in at the opening of the tent, he shouted, "Merry Christmas, little ones!" With that, he leapt into his sleigh and was out of sight before the children, rubbing the sleep from their eyes, could come out to see who had called them. You can imagine the wonder and joy of those little ones, who had never in their lives known a real pleasure before. When they saw the tree sparkling with lights that shone brilliant in the gray dawn, and hung with toys enough to make them happy for years to come, they joined hands and danced around the tree, shouting and laughing until they were obliged to pause for breath. And their parents also came out to look and wonder, and thereafter had more respect and consideration for their children, since Santa Claus had honored them with such beautiful gifts. The idea of the Christmas tree pleased Claus, and so the following year he carried many of them in his sleigh and set them up in the homes of poor people who seldom saw trees, and placed candles and toys on the branches. Of course, he could not carry enough trees in one load for all who wanted them, but in some homes the fathers were able to get trees and have them all ready for Santa Claus when he arrived. And these Santa Claus always decorated as prettily as possible, and hung with toys enough for all the children who came to see the tree lit. These ideas and the generous manner in which they were carried out made the children long for that one night in the year when their friend Santa Claus should visit them. As such anticipation is very pleasant and comforting, the little ones gleaned much happiness by wondering what would happen when Santa Claus next arrived. And that is where we will stop for tonight. All right. Glad we finally were able to get a reading in. Okay, so we're going to keep this time slot because this seems to be when he is awake. And so, yeah, that's what we'll keep doing. Where's your bed sheet coming off? All right. Ooh. So we will see you all tomorrow at 10 o'clock. All right. Good night, everyone.